Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Open University.
Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or the night time at whatever time you are watching this video. This is from Chaitanya Studio of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. Myself, Professor Dilip Barad, Head of the Department of English, Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji, BAOUGujarat University. This is the second part of our talk on hypothesis for academic research. In this series of talks, which is divided in 4 parts, we are going to talk about what is hypothesis, what is the function of hypothesis, what is the difference between research questions and research hypothesis, what are various types of research questions and hypothesis, and how to formulate and construct hypothesis. In part 1, we have already discussed what is hypothesis, what is the function of hypothesis, and what is the nature of hypothesis. In second part, in this part, we are going to talk about purpose, analysis and difference pertaining to hypothesis and research question, but our context will be quantitative research and qualitative research. As many research scholars or many research students, while you are watching this, you might be doing a quantitative research or qualitative research. So, we try to see that we can cater the needs of both the groups of students. If you are working in social sciences or in education or in pure sciences, you may be more related to quantitative research. But if you are in literature field, then maybe you are trying to look at qualitative research also. So, how hypothesis in academic research can be seen or can help us in formulating our research questions or hypothesis either in qualitative research or in quantitative research. Let us try to see here. For this purpose, we have referred to this article published in Korean Medical Science Journal, a practical guide to writing quantitative and qualitative research questions and hypotheses in scholarly articles. The purpose of hypothesis in qualitative and quantitative research. If this slide is understood carefully, then both the groups of research scholars will find how to frame or formulate their hypothesis. See, for qualitative research, what is important is in qualitative research, it is used, hypothesis is used, or the purpose of hypothesis is to formulate a hypothesis. Like it is trying to give a general findings which can lead to a kind of an hypothesis also. If you need deeper information about a topic you know little about, qualitative research can help you uncover themes. For this reason, qualitative research often comes prior to quantitative research. It allows you to get a baseline understanding of the topic and start to formulate hypotheses around correlation and causations. So, those who are pertaining to only qualitative research, their work, or many times you will find that many people say that in qualitative research, hypothesis is not very important. For the quantitative research, hypothesis is obviously very important, but for the quantitative researcher, qualitative researcher helps in formulating the hypothesis. But for a qualitative researcher, when they have to interpret and do analysis, at that time they have to think that your way of looking at hypothesis is again formulating a kind of a theory. You are moving from a hypothesis to a theory which might have wider acceptance also. On the other side, for the quantitative researchers, it is used to test or confirm a hypothesis. So, qualitative research usually informs quantitative. You need to have enough understanding about a topic in order to develop a hypothesis. You can test. Since quantitative research is highly structured, you first need to understand what the parameters are and how variables they are in practice. This allows you to create a research outline that is controlled in all the ways that will produce high quality data. So, for a quantitative researcher which is more systematic as compared to qualitative research, not to say that qualitative researches are not as sympathetic as this, but here there is more statistically, mathematically, one can say more meticulous way that things are devised in qualitative research. So, for them the hypothesis plays a very vital role. They can narrow down their variables through hypothesis. So, for example, if I am trying to investigate a topic regarding in a discipline like management or in technology and science or computer sciences, are boys doing good or girls? So, I am narrowing down to these two variables. The gender is a very important variable for me in looking into these things are there. Theoretically, perhaps you may be looking at the idea about for human beings, generally for human beings, which discipline or the study is very important for them. That becomes very significant part. Then when we move to analysis of this, it will also differ in both types of researches, in both the type, like in qualitative. For qualitative data, you will end up with data that will be highly textual in nature. You will be reading through the data and looking for key themes that emerge over and over. So, here the data is highly textual, there is lots of writing, there are no facts and figures, there are no statistical figures in qualitative data. Whereas in quantitative data, you will end up with a data set that can be analyzed, often with statistical software such as Excel, R or SPSS. You can ask many different types of questions that produce this quantitative data, including like rating, ranking questions, single select questions, multi-select questions and matrix table questions also. So, this is again a very interesting difference between the qualitative research and quantitative research. And also when we think of hypothesis, formulation of hypothesis for qualitative research and quantitative research also will differ, because our purpose of doing analysis is very different. Here there is a text, there are lots of words and paragraphs which are analyzed theoretically, whereas on the other side there are data, there are statistical figures and there are softwares which give some kinds of graphical presentation of those things. So, the analysis, or we can say a particular questions can be raised and the same data can be asked questions from variety of angle, and the software may give us a different statistical analysis of all those data also. So, when we sit down to frame our hypothesis for qualitative and quantitative, you have to keep this very clear in the mind. Those who are involved in qualitative research, if they will try to look at their research and try to hypothesize something that is only quantifiable in terms of quantitative things, then maybe they will not be able to conclude their research. Similarly, for the quantitative researchers, they can't just play with assumptions and theories and themes only, but they have to be more particular with their hypothesis. Yeah? And then we also see this interconnectedness between research questions and hypothesis. Yeah? So, research questions, on this side we see that a research question is what a study aims to answer, what data analysis and interpretation. So, a research question is what a study aims to answer after data analysis and interpretation. I repeat again so that we can very clearly set this frame of sentence in our mind. A research question is what a study aims to answer after data analysis and interpretation. Yeah? Whereas a hypothesis, on the other hand, a research hypothesis is an educated statement of an expected outcome. It is an educated statement of an expected outcome. This statement is based on background research and current knowledge. The research hypothesis makes a specific prediction about a new phenomenon or a formal statement on the expected relationship between an independent variable and dependent variable. It provides a tentative answer to the research question to be tested and explored also. Now, see, this again makes a very interesting distinction between qualitative and quantitative research also. In qualitative research, when we think of hypothesis or formulation of hypothesis, a research question perhaps becomes very important for us. So, in the subsequent, like in part 3 and part 4, when we will try to investigate further the difference and the formulation of hypothesis, we will see that in qualitative research, there are more research questions and lesser research hypotheses, whereas in quantitative research, there are lesser research questions and more research hypotheses. Depending upon the variables, the hypothesis keeps on changing. The same hypothesis can be read and reread in variety of ways just by changing the variables in the quantitative research. So, when we think of qualitative research, this word interpretation is very important, which we have put under research question there. So, for example, researches in literatures are normally depending on interpretations, or on social sciences like even psychology or sociology, also to a greater extent, even history also, to a greater extent, interpretations play a very significant role. It is said that the way laboratory outcome plays a vital role in pure sciences like physics or chemistry or electronics, the way field survey and data collection plays a very vital role, important, significant role in other social sciences subjects. Similarly, interpretations play a significant role for the study of literatures or history or psychology or sociology, where thematic concerns are more important than field survey. So, that is the importance of interpretation, which we put into the category of research question, not in hypothesis, but for qualitative research, that is very important even in the framing of their hypothesis also. Whereas, on this side of hypothesis, we find that specific predictions are made based on research questions. Some statements which are well thought, educated guesses are made based on research questions, and then it is worked out through some variables and it is tested also. So, this is interconnectedness between research question and hypothesis in qualitative research and also quantitative research. So, dear friends, in second part of our presentation or our talk on hypothesis for academic research, we have discussed in the context of quantitative and qualitative research, what is the purpose of hypothesis? Analysis of research question and hypothesis also differ for both the types of researches, and there is a very interesting difference between research question and hypothesis. Thank you everybody. Keep watching the videos for the third and the fourth part on hypothesis for academic research also. Thank you everybody.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तप